To another episode of Cannabis Health Radio. I'm Ian Jessup.
And I'm Corey Elland.
Multiple sclerosis is currently classified as an autoimmune disease of the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord. MS is unpredictable and can cause symptoms such as extreme fatigue, lack of coordination, weakness, tingling, impaired sensation, vision problems, bladder problems, cognitive impairment, and mood changes. Canada, surprisingly, has one of the highest MS rates in the world. Conventional medicine is of the opinion that there is no cure for MS. And joining us to talk about his battle with MS and the use of cannabis oil is Dale Melnechuk, who lives in Ontario, Canada. Dale, good of you to join us and tell us your story. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1997. I was 24 years old at that time, and at the time the doctor basically sat me down and said, yes, you have multiple sclerosis. It's not Lyme disease. It's not anything else. So at that time I took him for his word and believed everything he said. Basically I had left for a little while from where I had grown up and took a couple of years and did a little exploring up in Ottawa in the area, and then came back to marry my wife, and then got on some of those MS drugs. The first drug that I was on was Rebif. The second one was Tysabri, and both of them didn't really give me any positive results. So I decided to get off of those drugs, and then went down to the States and had the liberation procedure. The Dr. Zamboni from Italy had that, had benefits for his wife, so I had that, got my eyesight back, but I still felt decline for my MS. So I did a little bit more research, and I came across Corey's information and also Rick Simpson. And looking into it a little bit further, I had always believed that I had Lyme disease. So researching it, I found some information about Lyme disease and Rick Simpson oil and saw people benefiting from that, so I thought I'd give it a try. Fortunately, I was able to make a few inquiries, and I found information to lead me in the proper direction. So I started taking the oil, and it's been great ever since, about 3 years now.
Dale, let's back up a bit. What symptoms were you experiencing prior to going to the doctor?
Sure. So 1997, I woke up one morning, believe it was in early spring, and I couldn't move my toes on my left foot. So I had gotten a little curious as to what was going on there. So I went to my local doctor, and he suggested I went and saw a neurologist. Went and saw the neurologist, and he had done a few tests on me and came to the conclusion I had multiple sclerosis.
And when they said you had MS, multiple sclerosis, what was it like for you psychologically when the doctors told you that?
Oh, well, in 1997, as a 24-year-old young man, I didn't really know what MS was. I was a little shocked by it, and came home and started looking into it a little further, and I was a little worried. The doctor told me that I'd be in a wheelchair in about 10 years. A little taken aback. I had my whole life ahead of me there, and I was a little concerned. But to be honest, it's been an interesting experience. But I'm not as shaken up as I thought I would have been.
So you went on drugs, and did the drugs assist you in any way?
No, I think the MS drugs that are standard therapy, they've been, for myself personally, nothing but just, it seemed like it sped up the disease a little bit for me. So I got off of Rebif after, I believe, a year, maybe two, and then I was on Tysabri for about 6 months. But I started hearing information about Tysabri causing PML in people, which ended up leading to some serious complications, so I decided to just get off of that drug.
What did you say, PML?
Yeah, PML. I believe, I don't remember what PML stands for, but I believe it's very similar to mad cow disease. So in cattle, the mad cow disease, it's similar in the human being.
Wow.
From my understanding. Now, I'm not a doctor, so don't quote me, but that is what I understood.
But what I'm seeing just by quickly Googling it, it's a rare and unusual fatal viral disease characterized by progressive damage or inflammation of the white matter of the brain and at multiple locations, is what it says.
Exactly. So from my understanding, there's some fatalities to that, or people end up just becoming vegetables, basically. So I'm not sure if that's a term that's proper, but...
No, we understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, Dale, you started with the tingling or the lack of sensation in your toes. Was your MS deteriorating as you went along?
Yeah, it progressed. I ended up, I'd say in '98, I couldn't move my toes. They came back after about 6 months, but then 6 months after that, I was limping on my left leg. Up until about, I was limping progressively up until 2007, and then in 2007 I had an accident at work where I fractured my shoulder and hit my head off a concrete floor, and then within a week to two, I wasn't able to walk at all. I had to use a walker.
Wow.
Dale, you need some good luck in your life.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've been blessed. I have a wonderful wife, great family, so... great friends I met through Facebook, such as Corey. She's been a tremendous help to me. So,
you mentioned earlier that you went down to the U.S. to have, was it the liberation procedure?
Yes, that's correct. The liberation procedure. That's the one that Dr. Zamboni in Italy. I guess he discovered that the jugular veins and the azygos vein were not allowing the blood flow correctly. So they had to go in and balloon those veins and open them up. And when they did that, I got my eyesight back, and I had a lot of pain leave my legs. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to walk after it. So,
when you say you got your eyesight back, how bad was your eyesight at the time?
At that time, I had double vision, so it was blurry and double vision. Basically, I can remember laying on the table when they opened up the balloon, and they had like industrial tile type thing where there's little checkers throughout the tile, and as soon as they opened the balloons, all of a sudden my eyesight went right back to 20/20. So there was definitely something there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What is your eyesight today?
20/20. I had 20/20 vision before diagnosis of MS. Then I ended up getting double vision, blurry vision, and then after they had that procedure done, my eyesight came back 20/20. So.
You got better eyesight than we do.
Yeah, by a country mile.
Corey, have great eyes.
Corey's here with her reading glasses on.
And Ian's are on the table.
That's right.
The next year or 5, who knows, I'll probably be at that point myself. So.
Because of your serious work-related accident in which you hurt yourself and your head banged against a concrete floor, I'm assuming. Take us through what happened.
Okay. Basically, in 2004, I was offered the position to manage an equipment rental store. I had been doing that since 1988. So I went back into work after coming back from my little holiday in Ottawa. And basically, I was just running the operation. I had to send people out to do some deliveries. So I was in the store along with some customers. I was carrying some boxes. And at that time, my limp on my left leg was getting severe, and my toe just caught a rug, and I went down and hit my shoulder off the counter and then banged my head off the concrete floor. Like I say, about a week or two, I was using a walker after that. So I basically just inflamed the MS or caused the backed up blood to stay in my skull a little longer and ended up causing damage. Basically, with CCSVI, they believe that iron forms with blood not being able to drain out of the brain sufficiently. So I believe that's probably what happened to me. So,
are you in a wheelchair today?
Yeah, I am in a wheelchair. Basically, about 2011, 2012, I got bad enough so that I couldn't use my walker anymore, and then went into the wheelchair. So I've been in the chair since, I guess it's been about 4 or 5 years now.
Dale, do you have any feeling at all in your legs?
Yeah, fortunately, I do feel. Sensation is there. I'm not sure if I have the same sensation as most people, but I can feel when somebody touches my foot. I can feel my legs fine now. Again, that all came back after that CCSVI procedure, but also I believe the cannabis oil helps immensely in sensation, just my overall feeling. I feel healthy. I feel good. I believe that all comes down to the oil myself. So,
tell us how you discovered cannabis oil.
Basically, I had heard or saw a program on television a long time ago about Rick Simpson. So I saw that. I was always intrigued by it, but then I went online and I started doing some research, and I came across Rick Simpson's name. Fortunately for me, I came across Corey's name and was able to get some information from Corey. So,
do you remember the first time you took it?
Yes, I do. Again, for me, as a teenager, I had always been around marijuana. I had tried it. I knew what marijuana was all about. But the first time I took the oil, I was ready and prepared, and I had no real problem with it at all. It worked great, and I knew what I was looking out for.
So after you started taking the oil, how soon did you notice that, maybe this is working?
Sorry, I cut you off. But I believe I knew pretty quickly. I started doing a Herxheimer reaction, so I started getting really weak. But I knew the oil was working. It was fighting that infection off, and that lasted about 3 months. But I think I started doing about 1 gram a day of oil, and I was eating that every day. And within a week, I knew I was on the road to healing. It was a little worrisome because if I didn't know that I was going to be in for this Herxheimer reaction and experience all that weakness, I may have gotten scared and gotten off the oil thinking, oh, this is something that might be causing this. But I knew the oil was actually fighting off that infection and healing me. So I went through that 3 months and got through the Herxheimer reaction, and then basically it's just been smooth sailing ever since.
Yeah, for people unfamiliar with the Herxheimer reaction, it's a detox of your body, and for some people that can be very uncomfortable, and some people don't experience it to the extent that others do. Corey, when you started taking oil, did you experience the Herxheimer reaction?
No, not really. Although often we will see with people that they get worse before they get better, and I certainly got worse. I was hauled off to hospital, lights and sirens, levitating off the stretcher in pain several times.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But with the Herxheimer reaction, usually we see it about, this isn't, a solid rule, but between 2 and 5 weeks. And it can be just mild kind of flu-like symptoms, or where people think, oh, there's something wrong with this oil. It's poison or something, because now I'm feeling really awful and I feel nauseous and I've got diarrhea or a headache, and you can be quite emotional and that sort of thing. Often just drinking more fluids and just being really kind to yourself helps, and getting rest. Other times, if it's really intense, you have to kind of back off your dose that you're taking for a while. Particularly in MS and Lyme's patients, we often see a really intense reaction, and I am just so pleased that Dale was able to stick with it and go through it and come out the other side. Because, the first time I talked to Dale, we had a great conversation, but your energy was really, really low, Dale.
Yeah, it sure was.
Yeah, really, really low, and you were kind of like monotone. You could tell you just didn't have a lot of energy and a lot of joy, although you weren't negative by any stretch of the imagination, but you could certainly pick up that you weren't having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, before I started the oil, I was already weak, so the oil just intensified my weakness. The thing I keep thinking to myself and saying is that when I was diagnosed in 1997, if I had come across the oil in 1997 and I had that CCSVI procedure in 97, I'm sure I'd still be walking today. I'm sure I'd still be as healthy as the next person. Nobody would ever know that I had MS or Lyme disease or whatever you want to call it. I really, truly believe that. But you just have to get through those first couple months of the Herxheimer, and since then it's been great. I'm very thankful that I've come across this.
Well, it's a credit to you, Dale, for being so persistent during the detox, the Herxheimer reaction, because I'm sure a lot of people who go through that would have felt, listen, I just can't do this. This is making me worse, and quit. But you stuck through it for 3 months, which is a considerable length of time.
Yeah, usually it just lasts a week or two. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah, it was. It was for sure. Again, I had great support. If I was by myself, I don't know if I would have. If I hadn't used marijuana as a young man, I maybe would have been scared of it. But because I did, I knew what it was all about. I knew that this oil has been healing me, and it's been only good for me. I knew to stick with it and stay on it. So it's been great. I'll be honest with you. I don't know any other medicine that has been so positive. That's for sure.
And I think for people listening who may be somewhat apprehensive about taking cannabis oil, marijuana, cannabis oil, cannabis has never killed anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ever. It's impossible to die from an overdose of cannabis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to take 1,500 pounds of it within 15 minutes to die, but the only way you can do that is if it falls on your head.
Exactly.
Good luck with that.
Well, sorry.
I was just going to say, for me, I don't know anybody who has that much.
That's right.
Exactly.
We're going to interview a fellow also from Ontario who had MS. Dale, you'll be interested in this story. And Corey, do you recall that the fellow was paralyzed from the neck down? He had to be fed. Was Jack was telling us?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He had to be fed. So he got on cannabis oil, and today he's playing in a band.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll be interviewing him in early January.
Yeah. I mean, that's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, it sure is. It's absolutely wonderful. You know, and I'm still taking the oil to this day, and I'm going to continue for the rest of my life. So who knows how long it'll, what will happen in the future. But, only good can come from it as far as I can tell. So,
Dale, how often do you take it?
Well, I took a drop just about an hour before we started speaking on the phone here, and I usually will take a drop every night before bed, and take maybe a drop during the day, and I'll vaporize a couple times in the day. I find it relaxing. I do enjoy it. So
you vape besides taking the oil as well?
Yeah, well, I have myself a little vaporizer here that I take my Rick Simpson oil with, or I'll just eat it as well. So
yeah. Is it difficult for you where you live in Ontario to obtain the product?
It's not hard at all. I do believe the government has a law here in Canada where people with multiple sclerosis and other patients are able to grow their own at home. So it's been smooth sailing for me, that's for sure.
It certainly is a puzzle as to why Canada has one of the highest MS rates in the world. There is a correlation between MS and Lyme's.
Yeah.
And are you sure you do not have Lyme disease?
I'll be honest with you, I've never been tested, but looking back over my life, it seems that I should have picked up a Lyme virus from a tick somewhere around my childhood or whatever, versus actually being diagnosed with MS. Plus, as a patient being in the system for this long, I don't even know if they even believe that MS is a real disease. Now, again, this is my own opinion. I wouldn't take that to the bank, but what is MS? They can never even tell us what MS truly is. They say it's an autoimmune disease. MS is what? I think it's something similar to Lyme. It seems to be more of an infection to me. Mold infection or a Lyme virus infection or whatever it is. I think it's honestly some type of virus versus just something that just started out of the blue for me. So
I think what happens is if the medical profession cannot determine an exact cause of the specific disease, they put it under the umbrella of autoimmune disease. And it could be, we interviewed a woman from Washington State yesterday who had anal canal cancer, and she was very healthy in terms of what she did to keep herself healthy prior to her diagnosis. And she was indicating, even though she did all of those things, the tests on her immune system showed that her immune system was somewhat weak. Did I get that right, Corey?
You did, yes.
Yeah. So she had a weak immune system, and that's why she got cancer. Yeah. You may be in a similar position where no matter what you did, your immune system was weak. Therefore, you picked up what is described now as multiple sclerosis. So if you keep doing what you're doing, keep taking the cannabis oil and vaping, you may find over an extended period that you might be getting better and better.
I'm hoping so, absolutely. The more research that I do as well, I find out about the endocannabinoid system in the human body. I start looking at cancer rates in human beings. And when you go back, before government ended up eradicating hemp and cannabis, our farm animals would be eating these wild plants and passing the cannabinoids on to the human body. And I strongly believe that that's probably a reason why cancer rates were so low back then compared to nowadays. Again, with the autoimmune diseases too, I believe cannabinoids are definitely great for our human body, for sure.
No, absolutely. And I was interviewing a fellow a couple of days ago from British Columbia, who is a doctor, a medical doctor, and also teaches or taught at the University of British Columbia. And he was researching Lyme disease, and he said that when you get bitten by a tick and the eggs go into you, they remain dormant, but they have this protective covering over them. And I forget what the exact term is, but this protective covering is there to protect the eggs. And they have found through tests at New Haven University that as a result of injecting cannabidiol into this, it breaks down that protective layer and actually kills it. So what they're doing now is having further tests to see if the cannabidiol will kill the eggs. And if it kills the eggs, that is essentially what I guess the medical profession would term a cure for Lyme disease. Yeah.
I think this oil is the best antibiotic that a person can take. I don't really know how to explain it, but I did go in for kidney surgery last April, and the doctors were kind of poking around and looking to see if I had any type of infection, and I have zero infection in me, and other times, like the MSRA virus or whatever, they're worried about in the hospitals, but because I'm on this cannabis oil, I have zero infection whatsoever, so...
Yeah, didn't you take a gram of oil before you went in for that surgery? I think that's what you told me the other day.
Sorry, Corey, what was that?
Didn't you take a gram of oil before you went in for that surgery? Is that what you told me the other day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was laying on the stretcher in the waiting room, and I had my wife give me a gram of oil there before I went in for the operation, and it came through smoothly. And
with no infection or a lot of pain or anything like that. Yes. Great.
A gram of oil. That's fantastic.
That'll set you right up.
Yeah, that's right.
What I started with, right? So to start the Rick Simpson protocol, at least you work yourself up to that gram, and then you start taking the gram a day to kill the Lyme virus or help you with MS or whatever you believe it is. So as far as I can remember reading the Rick Simpson protocol. So,
do the doctors know that you're taking the cannabis oil?
I do let people know that, yes, that I am on cannabis oil. I'm not sure if they understand that this is my main medicine that I take now. I take nothing else. I'm pretty sure they're mostly aware. I don't publicize it to a lot of people, but I do let them know for sure.
That's pretty amazing that you're able to just be on oil and no pharmaceuticals with all the damage that comes with them and all the side effects.
Yeah, absolutely. I am very anti-pharma right now. After a few years of the MS drugs and seeing all the different things that are happening in our world right now with pharmaceuticals, I prefer to say it was something that God created, and I know that God made it. It certainly works for me, and anything that I've tried that's been man-made certainly hasn't. So I'll stick with this for sure.
Dale, how has your family coped with your condition?
I think they've been pretty good. Now that, it's been 20 years almost, the first little bit was difficult on my parents, but they were okay with it. And, fortunately for me, I was able to move on. I met a beautiful, wonderful wife, a wonderful woman, and she's been great. I have 2 wonderful children now. So overall, everybody's been good. And, to be honest, I was diagnosed with MS before I met my wife. So it's always been part of something that we've dealt with together. So,
does she notice a difference in you with the oil?
I believe she does. Yeah, absolutely. I just have a more energetic, more spirit, more just better outlook on life now that I've been on this. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound energetic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, compared to, Corey, what you were saying earlier on how when you first talked to him, he sounded...
It was pretty low energy.
Pretty low energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to wipe the smile off my face right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it'd be interesting. Do you talk to other MS patients about what your protocol is?
Yeah, I try and let other people know. Again, I'm on Facebook, so I have about... 450 or 500 MS friends on there. So I post information all the time about it and talk to others. And I see other people have tried it as well. I see others sometimes giving up on it a little bit quicker than they should, or others having difficulties coming up with the money to be able to take this, because of course our government's not helping in any way whatsoever, or insurance companies or anything like that. So it gets difficult for some people, but I do try and let people know and let them know the positive experiences I have for sure.
How receptive are they to what you're doing?
A lot of people that have used cannabis in their life, they're pretty receptive. There's others that I get a lot of pushback from. Unfortunately, recently another MS patient has a daughter who ended up taking opioids for her pain and ended up getting into an addiction, and I tried to explain to her that Rickson oil can help her get off of that opioid if she gave it a chance. But again, she's a little bit weary believing that cannabis led to that. And personally, I don't believe that whatsoever. But she believes that cannabis led her daughter into a stronger drug.
Gateway drug.
The gateway drug.
Yeah, nothing could be further from the truth.
I'm 44 years old now, and I think the first time I used marijuana was when I was 17, and I never used anything ever between here and then and now, so there's no gateway for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
If you talk to, and Corey, you probably verify this, if you talk to 100 people about the use of cannabis, you're going to get probably 80% might be receptive, the other 20% say, no way, I'm not taking that. Yeah, it's the same with taking cannabis oil by suppository, as opposed to taking it orally. And there's some people that just say, I'm not going to do that. Well, okay, you can get high or you can die.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, the lies that the government's been telling us for the past 80 or 90 years or whatever it's been, it seems to put a lot of fear into a lot of people, and people believe it. So it's unfortunate.
I have one of the people, well, actually have several police officers or ex-police officers on my page, but one of them said to me that he highly resents being lied to all these years about cannabis, and how he feels sick when he thinks about how many people that in his career he ended up putting in jail as a result of cannabis. Yeah,
absolutely. And, just recently there's a patient with Parkinson's who was an ex-cop. His video is all over Facebook.
Oh, yes, I've seen it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the fellow and he's shaking terribly, and then he takes it, and within a minute, you see, notice.
Yeah, within a few minutes.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
He's not had lunch yet.
Yeah, that's absolutely remarkable. Dale, it was good of you to tell your story, and we hope you continue with the cannabis oil, and you get out of the wheelchair, and life returns to normal for you.
I hope so. I owe Corey a dance, I say so. Someday.
A dance and a glass of wine to go with it.
Sorry, Corey. For some reason, you a little bit there.
I just said I need a glass of wine to go with that dance.
Okay, absolutely. No problem at all.
That's right.
Opening the bottle. Sure.
Dale, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us and share your experience and, give some other people out there some hope.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. That's it for another edition of Cannabis Health Radio. If you would like to help us in our mission to help others by spreading the word about the medical benefits of cannabis, go to our website, cannabishealthradio.com, and hit the donate button and donate, either one-time donation or, if you feel inclined, a monthly donation, which we would greatly appreciate it. And wherever you are in the world, thank you very much for listening. You've been listening to Cannabis Health Radio.
You've been listening to the Cannabis Health Radio podcast. Visit our website, cannabishealthradio.com, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.